I'm Dorothy Shaw, 34, environmental engineer, the kind of person who keeps bridges standing and basements dry. That Sunday night, I stood in my parents' dining room in Omaha, watching steam curl off Mom's pot roast like a little weather system. Forks, napkins, the clink of a water glass. Ordinary things. Then Dad leaned forward, his voice flat as winter asphalt. "You can take the guest room, or move out." The words were clean cuts. Justin, my brother with the grin of a lottery winner who never buys his own ticket, chimed in before the echo died. "Better if you're gone by tomorrow." His wife, Miriam, didn't even blink. Just that sleek little smile, eyes doing the math of a woman who already owns the furniture in her head. My fork slipped, a small, bright clatter. And in that chime I heard every receipt I'd handed Dad, every utility bill, every water heater install, the roof patch I did on a 20-degree Saturday with my hair frozen to my cheek. Hundreds of thousands over years, not gifts, not loans, just the cost of being the daughter who showed up and kept the lights on while the visionary son auditioned new dreams. I looked at Mom, begging for eye contact, for anything. She studied the napkins like they were a complicated language. I stood, feeling the heat climb my throat. Fine. I'm gone. I packed that night. TV I bought. Couch I bought. Coffee maker I bought. The house echoed behind me, and for the first time it didn't sound like home, it sounded like a bill I'd already paid, and paid, and paid. A week later, the phone buzzed. Mom's voice came thin and stretched, with Justin's panic cracking in the background. "She's lying. Mom, tell me she's lying." Chaos poured through the receiver like water through a busted main. I just started breathing again, new apartment downtown, 1 bedroom, south-facing window, a humming city outside and a silence inside that didn't judge me. My co-worker, Gloria, the friend who brings wine and tape and the kind of jokes that turn moving boxes into furniture, had shoved a yoga flyer in my hand. "It's not stretching, Dorothy. It's a reset." I didn't believe her, and then I did. Warrior poses that felt like remembering I had a spine. But even as my muscles lengthened one careful breath at a time, something knotted inside me stayed tight. Miriam's SUV shine, her watch that told more than time, the way she dropped equity and leverage like treats on the floor while Dad wagged. Real estate in Omaha can be good, sure, but not that good, not that fast. The math wasn't mattering. So I called Michael, an old conference friend, a real estate guy with a steady voice and receipts for days. "Miriam Cole?" he asked, air going quiet around his words. Her agency's on a few radars, inflated appraisals, skimming, paperwork that doesn't hold up in daylight. Nothing proven yet, but, Dorothy, be careful. Careful. I'd been careful for years, careful with the house, careful with my anger, careful with the way a daughter makes herself small to fit her family's story. And where had it landed me? On the sidewalk with my own couch. I tried Dad anyway. "You don't know what you're talking about," he snapped. "Don't stick your nose in their business." Their business. I remember the way that line stung, like I'd been a contractor, not his kid. I dialed Mom next. "Let it go," she whispered. "They're happy." Happiness, the word people use when they're tired of looking at facts. So I dug. Public records. Property histories. I called a real estate attorney who'd hired my firm once to survey floodplains. "The name rings bells," she said. Complaints. Disputes. Buyers who discovered the house they bought wasn't the house they financed. A surveyor I knew from a mud-soaked job in Sarpy County mentioned whispers at a title company. Then Hazel, our old family friend with the bun and the kind smile, spotted me at a cafe and went still when she heard Miriam. "That girl worked at a firm in Lincoln," she murmured. "Shady outfit. Signatures appeared where clients swore they never signed." Values, ballooned. They got sued. She slipped the net. I drove to my parents' house like a siren was inside me. Justin was unloading organic groceries he hadn't paid for. I showed him Michael's email. "You're jealous," he said, quick as a slap. "Miriam's successful. You can't stand it." He tossed the word jealous like confetti, the party favor of people who refuse to think. Inside, Mom stirred soup. "Hazel knew her," I said, voice steady because I'd practiced steadiness for a decade. "You need to check the paperwork, the house, Mom." Her spoon paused. Then the old silence again. "Don't start trouble." Back in my apartment, Michael called. I dug deeper, he said. "Your parents signed a second mortgage last month, 6 figures, tied to a shell company. Miriam's signature is on it. The world did that tilt, the one where nothing fell but you felt it anyway." I pulled the documents myself. There it was, the house, the windows I bought, the water heater, the paint I rolled on those walls, now collateral in a game I never agreed to play. I saved everything. Emails. PDFs, screenshots. Dates. Times. I labeled folders like a woman building a case against the part of her life that wouldn't stop stealing from her. The knock came 2 weeks later. Mom called, whispering, "There are people here." I drove the old route without looking at the speedometer. 2 investigators stood in the porch light, badges catching the glow. "We need to speak to Miriam Cole," one said. Fraudulent transactions. Forged documents. Misappropriated funds. Justin's face cracked. "She's lying, Mom. She's lying." The investigators handed over a card and a future. They'd be back. Miriam's car idled across the street, engine purring, like nothing touches a woman in leather seats. I stepped into the glow, phone in my pocket recording like a heartbeat. "Tell me, Miriam," I said, voice level. "The mortgage. The transfers. The shell." She chose a weapon, contempt. "Your father signed," she snapped. "He wanted in." Then, almost bored, she confessed the rest. People like Miriam always believe the microphone is theirs. I pressed my palm into my pocket, feeling the record light warm under my thumb. She drove off. Gravel popped under her tires. I stood in her exhaust cloud and thought, this is what a truth smells like when it finally burns. Inside, Justin folded in on himself. "Why didn't you stop her?" he asked, looking at me like I'd left the stove on. I laughed, a hard little sound that surprised me. "I tried. You called me jealous. Dad told me to mind my business. Mom told me not to ruin your happiness." The word happiness tasted like tin. The phone rang that night. Dad's voice was a gravel road. "Dorothy, we're in trouble. The bank, the loan, can you come back?" "No." That was the whole sentence. Not cruel. Not vengeful. Just a complete idea. "I gave everything," I said, quietly. "You chose her over me. You chose the story where Justin is the sun and I'm the light switch. I'm not coming to fix this." Morning brought envelopes. Foreclosure warnings. Past due notices. The kind of paper that hums with urgency. Numbers stacked like bricks, a second mortgage for $250,000, payments missed, retirements emptied to invisible accounts. I traced each line with an engineer's eye, loads, stress, failure points. It all held, until it didn't. "We're family," Justin whispered, suddenly small. "You can't just walk away." But he had taught me, finally, how walking away is sometimes the only way to stay upright. Dad stared out the window, shoulders low. "I thought I was helping him have a chance," he said. I didn't see. He stopped, a man meeting the edge of his own reflection. Mom hovered with a tissue, eyes red. "I'm sorry," she said, reaching for my hand. My body remembered the napkin game at dinner and stepped back. "You didn't just trust her," I told them. "You trusted her more than me. You made me pay to stay quiet." "I'm done paying." I sent the recording to the investigators. They thanked me. Later, I learned enough to know that justice is a slow river. It grinds rock, eventually. But houses and savings don't wait. Within weeks, the bank took what numbers insist on. My parents moved into a rental that smelled like other people's cooking. Justin got a part-time job selling tools to men who actually used them. Miriam disappeared into the same air lies evaporate into, seemingly gone, never really far. 6 months later, light laid across my new coffee table, the one I bought because I liked the way the wood held the sun. Blueprints sprawled under my elbows, a little bridge for a little river, and my name at the top line as lead engineer. Gloria popped the cork like a starter pistol. "To Dorothy," she said, grin wide, "who finally builds for herself." We laughed until my ribs ached, the good kind of ache. I still had the file, the one named, for when people say I made it up. Evidence doesn't erase pain. It also doesn't erase the temptation to rewind. But yoga taught me about the body's urge to return to old shapes, and how to breathe through it. Warrior 2. Hinge. Heart high. Boundaries in the hips. Strength in the feet. The pose is the point, not the performance. Sometimes I woke in the night to the sound of that first fork clattering, my nervous system reliving that cut. I'd rise, pour water, feel the floor under my soles, and remind myself, I live here now, in a place I paid for without apology. On a warm Saturday, I found Mom's letter in a stack of mail I'd been pretending wasn't there. Her handwriting had always been neat, the kind of cursive that made teachers smile. I made tea. I sat. I read. Apologies, and not the tidy kind. Regret, where love and habit fought for space. She talked about women taught to keep peace by keeping quiet, and daughters taught to be useful before they're heard. She said, I wish I had lifted my eyes at dinner. She said, I'm trying to learn how to speak. She said, would you let me try, with you? I didn't answer that day. Healing is not a sprint. It's also not a test with a passing grade. It's a path you walk, sometimes toward, sometimes away, sometimes in circles while your legs remember the idea of forward. I did text her a week later. Coffee, neutral ground, daylight. She came. She cried. I didn't. We didn't fix everything, because everything isn't how life works. But I watched her try, and that mattered. We negotiated small truths. She promised to stop translating Dad. I promised to say no, without writing an essay about why I deserved to. We practiced, and then we practiced again. Dad took longer. Pride is a slow-dissolving mineral. Months later, he sat across from me at a diner that still served pie like it meant it. He picked at his napkin. I mistook noise for vision, he said finally. And reliability for wallpaper. He looked older when he said it, and a little freer. I'm sorry, Dorothy. I believed him. I also believed in my lock, the one on my apartment door and the one around my time. Justin texted a lot, always in bursts, new ideas, second chances, an apology swallowed by an ask. I kept my boundary clean. I hope you do well. I can't help. He got angry. Then quiet. Then angry. Then quieter. Sometimes people say, family is forever, like a magic spell. But forever is useless if it's always taking. The only forever I can manage is the one I build, plank by plank, breath by breath. There are things I keep, my couch, still mine, my TV, still mine, my yoga mat, sweat salty and honest. I keep Gloria's laughter, and the way my new team says my name when a plan works. I keep the right to change my mind, about the past, about the future, about who gets to stand close to me. I keep the lesson that helped me step out of a story that forgot I am the main character. And there are things I let go, the fantasy that if I just pay more, try harder, explain longer, love louder, people will magically become who I need. The hope that proof is what convinces. Evidence matters, yes, but people choose what they see. The only person I can reliably convince is the woman in my mirror at 7 a.m. when the sun hits my cheekbone and says, "We made it." If you're still with me, if any part of this brushed against an old bruise of yours, hear me now. Boundaries are not punishments. They're bridges built to carry your life over other people's floods. They creak sometimes. They sway. You will question your own carpentry. But when the water rises, you'll be grateful for every bolt. Hook, conflict, betrayal, revelation, revenge, redemption, reflection. I used to think revenge was a courtroom scene, a headline, a perfectly timed, "I told you so." For me, revenge looked like soft mornings in a quiet apartment, a promotion with my name spelled right, friends who bring soup without asking, and a spine that doesn't bend when someone says, "You owe us." Redemption? That's the part where I learned to forgive the girl who stayed too long because she confused caring with belonging. I don't owe the past a permanent lease. Reflection? It's this, speaking into a room where I can't see you but I feel you nod. Family is blood, sure, but it's also choice. It's the people who don't make you smaller so they can feel big. It's the friend who hands you a yoga flyer and means, "I want you to have your life." It's the investigators who show up with paper and say, "Truth, please." It's the version of you who says, "No," and then doesn't argue with herself about it. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever had to draw a hard line at a table where you were expected to smile and pass the salt, take a breath with me. In and out. You're allowed to choose yourself. You're allowed to build new rooms where you are welcome. You're allowed to leave, gently, firmly, completely. Have you ever set a boundary with family and felt both the relief and the ache? What did you learn from it? Share your thoughts below. Your story might be the bridge someone else needs tonight. And if you'd like more true stories told with a calm voice and a steady heart, consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. I'll be here, breathing, building, and rooting for you.